Harry and Meghan are always wary of Queen for unexpected reasons. Her death is the release of the venomous snakes. Hello friends, welcome to the sensational news of the notorious hypocritical couple Harry and Meghan Markle on our Kate Middleton and the Queen News version 2 channel. After years of carefully watching members of the royal family, an expert has recently come to the shocking conclusion that it is the Queen who is the most dangerous factor for Harry and Meghan. Alright friends, you heard it right. The one who has the most power in the British monarchy can make anyone in the royal family suffer a life of austerity. And we also need to mention that she was both queen and grandmother to Harry and Meghan, the infamous royal traitorous couple. Now, if she wanted to, she could have stopped or changed the sit any time, but she decided not to. So basically, she was complicit and she might have been the architect of this whole situation. It really says a lot in terms of how she felt about her much-loved grandson and the woman who he married. She left the door open as Granny did, but then she slammed it shut as queen. Recently, a royal audience has made an assessment of just how dangerous the Queen is to Harry and Meghan. She said, "I have not said much about the newly released Courtiers by Valentine Lowe. I wanted to read the entire thing before saying much. The most interesting aspect of the work is not about Harry and Markle, but absolutely ends up having a great impact on what we know about the time they spent as working royals." So Lowe chose to use the subtitle for his book, The Hidden Power Behind the Crown. And what his book actually shows is that courtiers of the old school variety really did have a far greater impact on the family and the monarch than we've seen in the last 50 years or so. See, when Queen Elizabeth began her reign, she was a young woman. She wasn't even 30, and she was thrust into the role a little sooner than anybody thought she would be. But she listened to and she heeded the advice of courtiers, but still, their impact lessened as her reign matured. There is a clear history of the Queen making it clear that she allows courtiers to do their jobs, and she does not micromanage, but she also doesn't hesitate to exercise her authority and ignore their advice or overrule it. The book illustrated so many occasions where members of the family have appealed to the Queen after getting nowhere with courtiers, and ultimately the Queen often overrode the courtiers. So the main point in Lowe's book is that laying the blame for problems within the family at the feet of courtiers demonstrates a complete lack of understanding of how things really function between the monarch and the courtiers. Now, I've always said that the separation of the courtiers from the monarch as some kind of independent body that has the power in any situation is ridiculous. And Lowe's book shows a monarch that was totally capable of taking and making stands on issues, and sometimes her final say was in direct conflict with her courtiers. So when we're talking about Megxit, the courtiers thought that it was their duty to create some plan that would accommodate the couple and be acceptable to the Queen too. There was a list of scenarios of how half-in, half-out deal could work, and that was presented. Harry and Meghan would love the world to think that it was the courtiers that didn't give them any options, but in fact, it was the Queen. Harry and Meghan have always tried their best to separate the Queen from the firm and any strife that they experienced. So as it turns out, even though Meghan and Harry were referred to as much-loved members of the family, the very person who said those words, the Queen, was also responsible for not allowing any flexibility. It was all or nothing, and that ultimatum came from the Queen, in spite of Harry and Meghan trying to blame it on the firm. See, the gruesome twosome have always described their ongoing relationship with the Queen in a positive light. We have heard all about the gifts that were given. We've heard how Harry is such a close confidant of the Queen. So when we think about that, and then when we think about the statements that he made in that Oprah interview, of course, we feel a little bit confused. I mean, what prevented them from going straight to the top? The relationship is lovely, so isn't it strange that the Queen called in to help? Now, I've asked this question to silence on so many threads. Valentine Lowe has actually gone a pretty long way in trying to answer the question. So there are two answers that we are left with, and neither is very flattering. Harry and Meghan didn't actually go to the Queen herself because that relationship was not like they pretended it was. Or maybe they didn't take it to the Queen because they knew good and well that it was the Queen and not the firm who made the choices that they were disappointed about. So either way, what I can say for sure is the Queen made the right decision. And after the Queen passed away, it seemed like Harry and Meghan were totally liberated. In spite of the delay of the royal family, Meghan still intentionally broke the rules to say some terrible things against the British monarchy. And recently, she released a very controversial new podcast episode. It actually ended up contradicting the stories in the interview with Oprah. One commenter said, "Meghan's new podcast dropped yesterday. I had actually forgotten, so I went online to see what the highlights were. Apparently, it was changing her story from the Oprah interview. Now, all of a sudden, Meghan claims that Harry referred her to a therapist during the time that she describes as my worst point." Is she describing the time that she claimed in her Oprah interview to feeling suicidal? So now she is saying she did get help? On another note, are we still talking about labels that hold women back or real mental health issues? These are two different things, and to say that men don't suffer from real mental health issues is, well, sexist. But see, Meghan Markle is a psychopathic narcissist, so she's really beyond psychiatric help. See, something like sociopathy or narcissism is a cluster B personality disorder, and you're just born that way and you die that way. There's not really any effective treatment. Therapy is actually going to only make them stronger. And that seems to be about what has happened here, because Meghan is trying to minimize what the doctor probably diagnosed her with. She's saying that people were calling her crazy. No, she's not really crazy. She's just evil. That woman is a demon. And her statements are just getting more and more disturbing according to experts. Because as a feminist, she couldn't just call her OB, since this originally supposedly happened when she was pregnant with Archie. But I hear apparently she's changing her whole story on that as well. I just can't believe that she calls and considers herself a feminist but can't seem to do anything without the assistance of men. That definitely is a trait of a narcissist, though. The story just changes to suit their narrative. And the narcissist who I used to live with, unfortunately, is now rewriting or trying to rewrite history so that it's going to suit him. But I am so happy to say the rest of my family members are not allowing him to do that. Thankfully, I've got people to stand up for me and to stand up for the real truth, not the truth that my ex insists upon. So what do you think about Meghan Markle's personality transformation and the bogus story she told in her latest podcast episode? Let us know your thoughts below in the comments section. We hope you have found this video helpful. And don't you forget to leave us a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and we will be back to see you in the next videos. Goodbye now.